Hello and welcome to the Asian Chronicle. Today we're exploring the life of Fethullah Gülen, the son of a village imam who rose to become a global spiritual leader, spreading his schools and ideas across continents. Yet, he would die in exile, denounced as a terrorist by the very country he once hoped to reform. His story is filled with contradictions. A preacher who claimed to avoid politics but was accused of plotting a coup d'etat. A man who spoke of humility while building a worldwide network of influence. Fethullah Gülen was born on April 27, 1941 in the tiny village of Chronicle near Erzurum in eastern Turkey. His father, Ramiz Gülen, was a local imam and his mother, Rafia Hamim, was the family's main spiritual influence. Gülen showed an insatiable hunger for knowledge from his early age. His education wasn't limited to Islamic texts, but he was also studied Western classics like Victor Hugo's Les Miserables. He even found inspiration in Picasso's abstract art, seeing it as aligned with Islamic principles. In 1952, at 21, Gülen received his preaching license. His eloquent sermons soon attracted university students and intellectuals, drawn to his blend of traditional Islamic teachings and modern concerns. Now, in 1966, Gülen was transferred to the city of Izmir, where his movement truly began to crystallize. It was here that he established the famous lighthouses, which are boarding houses that assisted poor students with their education. That would soon become the prototype for the vast educational network that would define his legacy. Gülen's theological and philosophical development was profoundly shaped by the works of Sayyid Nursi in the late 1950s. Nursi, a Kurdish Islamic scholar who had built a massive following before his death in 1960, advocated for the harmonization of Islam with modernity and science. What impressed Gülen the most about Nursi was his courage in criticizing administrative arbitrariness, not for personal gain, but for society's betterment. However, Gülen was not merely a follower of Nursi, rather a significant thinker in his own right. As scholar Dr. Brett Barton noted, Gülen took Nursi's foundation and created a synthesis, rearticulation or fresh application of his earlier works. Gülen actually saw Prophet Muhammad as his primary model, viewing the Sunnah as a gift of God to Muslims that would drive them towards divine will. His teachings were rooted in Orthodox Sunni Islam while constantly innovating and applying them in modern contexts. Unlike many Islamic movements, Gülen explicitly rejected the concept of an Islamic state. He advocated for full participation in secular democratic systems by both religious and secular individuals who upheld high moral principles. In the early 1990s, Gülen's movement, also known as Hizmet movement, which means service, went global. First, schools in Central Asia, then classrooms from Nigeria to the United States were set up, all under the Gülen brand. Estimates even suggest that the movement eventually operated over 1,000 schools in more than 100 countries, serving more than 2 million students. Now, the schools followed a very distinctive model where they provided secular education with heavy emphasis on STEM courses while offering religious instructions, often just 1 hour per week in Turkey and sometimes none at all in other countries. However, all schools outside Turkey offered Turkish language instruction, creating a cultural bridge to Turkey. In the United States alone, the movement operated over 100 charter schools, making it the largest charter school network in the country. These schools, with names like Chicago Math and Science Academy and the Sonoran Science Academy, served predominantly low-income students and received public funding. The movement imported thousands of Turkish educators to staff these institutions, most with ties to Gülen. Now, in March 1999, Gülen moved to the United States for medical treatment and never returned to Turkey. But his departure came as he faced increasing scrutiny from Turkish authorities. In June 1999, after he had left Turkey, videotapes were broadcasted showing Gülen seemingly advocating for the gradual Islamization of the Turkey state. In the controversial recording, Gülen appeared to say, and I quote, "The existing system is still in power. Our friends who have positions in legislative and administrative bodies should learn its details and be vigilant all the time so that they can transform it and be more fruitful on behalf of Islam in order to carry out a nationwide restoration. However, they should wait until the conditions become more favorable." Now, Gülen was tried in absentia in 2000 and found guilty of conspiring to embed his supporters into the Turkish civil service to overthrow the government. Of course, he claimed his remarks were taken out of context and that the tapes had been manipulated, but this controversy continued to cast a long shadow over his later relationship with the Turkish authorities. Yet, even as Turkish prosecutors targeted him, a new political force was rising. In 2002, Recep Tayyip Erdogan's Justice and Development Party, or the AKP, swept to power, promising a democratically elected and economically vibrant Turkey, while wearing its piety quite openly. The AKP and the Gülen movement, though born of different Islamic traditions, found themselves as unlikely allies against a shared adversary, the secular military establishment. Now, Gülen's network, with its influence in the judiciary and the police, played a crucial role in shielding Erdogan's government during the 2008 Constitutional Court case that nearly banned the AKP. It was also instrumental in the Erdogan and the sledgehammer trials, which dismantled Turkey's secularist strongholds within the military and the bureaucracy. But beneath the surface, the alliance was still fragile. Turkish authorities alleged that Gülen's movement had been systematically infiltrating state institutions for decades. As early as 1986, the Turkish military had expelled dozens of cadets suspected of loyalty to Gülen. According to a magazine report from that time, an alleged recruiter had told students to, and I quote, "work their way through the ranks and wait for instructions that would come in a few decades." Now, former police chief Hanefi Avci would later describe how followers would secure government jobs, acted in coordinated networks, promoting and protecting each other while undermining rivals, aided by supervisors known as brothers, who even facilitated cheating on entrance exams. Now, the alliance between Gülen and Erdogan began to fracture around 2010, and the first major breaking point came in February 2012, 2 years later, with the MIT crisis, interpreted as a power struggle between the AKP and pro-Gülen elements in the police and the judiciary. Now, Gülen's criticism of Erdogan's handling of the 2013 Gezi Park protests, one of the largest uprisings in modern Turkey, further strained these relations. The final break came in December 2013 when Gülen-linked prosecutors launched a massive corruption investigation program that implicated Erdogan's government, including the sons of 3 of his ministers. The corruption probes, known as the 1725 investigations, named after the dates as they began, led to dozens of arrests of prominent businessmen and government officials. Erdogan furiously denounced these investigations as a dirty operation by those trying to form a state within a state. Now, the Gülen movement operated through a complex network of influential figures. According to Turkish government documents, key figures included Adil Öksüz, who was described as the civilian mastermind of the 2016 coup attempt. There was also Mehmet Patigok, Gökhan Şahin, and Omar Faruk. Now, the movement's structure was described as highly hierarchical and secretive. Its network included successful businessmen, media figures, educators, and civil servants who supported the movement's activities through donations and volunteer work. In July 2016, rogue military officers had also attempted to overthrow the Turkish government. The coup attempt resulted in deaths of over 240 civilians and 2,196 were injured. Now, Erdogan immediately blamed Gülen and his network, dubbing them as Fethullahist terror organization, or what we know as FETO. Turkish government investigations allege that the coup plotters attended meetings in early July 2016 and that Adil Oksuz traveled to the United States to consult with Gülen before returning to Turkey to help coordinate this coup. Though the specific travel and approval narrative is based on the Turkish government claims but has not been independently verified by international sources. Now, Gülen, on the other hand, vehemently denied this involvement in the coup attempt. He condemned the violence and suggested that an international commission investigate this incident. The Turkish government had launched massive purges, arresting over 77,000 people and dismissing more than 160,000 people from their jobs for alleged Gülenist ties. Now, from 1999 until his death in 2024, Fethullah Gülen lived in reclusive exile at a guarded compound in Pennsylvania, serving as the headquarters of his global Islamic movement while his health kept declining and Turkey's repeated extradition requests were denied by the United States. He died at the age of 83 in a Pennsylvania hospital, with his secretive burial on the compound grounds sparking controversy as Turkish officials alleged that the funeral was not in accordance with Islamic tradition. Even after his death, Gülen's movement remained under Turkish scrutiny, with continued purges and accusations of infiltration following the 2016 coup attempt. Despite closures of many schools, the network still operates in over 100 countries, including Germany, Nigeria, South Africa, the United States, and maintains a small, quiet presence in India through dialogue initiatives. To his followers, Gülen was a reformer who championed education and interfaith dialogues. To his critics, he was a manipulator seeking power under the guise of modernization. His life and death in exile reflect the enduring tensions between Islam and secularism, East and West, leaving a contested legacy that continues to shape Turkish society and global Islamic thought. Thank you. This is Garima, and you are watching the Asian Chronicle.